As a Delaware Tech instructor who's taught remedial English in the past and who currently teaches college-level English, I am long familiar with the difference between the two courses. Over the past year or so, the number of students who arrive in my classroom unprepared for college-level English has risen dramatically. I believe that a simple policy change may help us identify and address this problem so that we can better support the success of our students. My name is Nicole Trowett, and in this presentation, we'll be exploring that policy. But first, a trivia question. Which one of these sentences was written by a college student? The answer? All of them. It might surprise you to know that every one of these sentences was pulled directly from a written assignment turned in by ENG101 students, students who have supposedly demonstrated their ability to read and write at college level. Now, I recognize that commas can be a challenge and that spell check has made good spellers irrelevant, but I would expect that students entering a college-level English course should at least be able to build a coherent, organized sentence. Right now, at Delaware Tech, students who wish to enroll must take the AccuPlacer placement test to determine whether they need remedial English courses or whether they have the skills necessary to move into an entry-level college-level English class. This table is somewhat simplified, but it covers the general gist. For example, a student who scores a 40 on both the reading and writing would have to take 2 semesters of remedial classes, a basic and an intermediate, before moving on to ENG101. Whereas a student who earns a 78 and an 84, respectively, will be placed directly into ENG 101 without requiring any remediation. A similar ESL path is available for non-native English speakers. This progression relies on the premise that low test scores are an accurate indicator that students are unprepared for college-level work, and that remediation will provide students with the skills they need to be prepared. If both of these premises are true, we would logically expect that students, following remediation, should earn higher test scores and demonstrate an appropriate readiness level with respect to the table we referenced earlier. Remember that an incoming student must earn a 78 in reading and an 84 in writing to be placed in ENG 101. So, does it work? Does our student from earlier, who earned 40s in both reading and writing, find himself doing significantly better after 2 semesters? Only 32 weeks of intro and pre-tech English courses? Does he earn the requisite 78 and 84 to move on? Well, we don't know. Right now, students who pass intro move directly into pre-tech, and students who pass pre-tech move directly into a college-level English course without being tested again. This policy assumes that passing these remedial courses guarantees that students have gained the necessary skills to be successful. The policy change I'm proposing would require students to take the AccuPlacer test as the final exam of their remedial course to ensure that they've acquired the skills they'll need to meet college-level reading and writing expectations. Students who still don't earn the required scores should not be allowed to proceed without further assistance and/or remediation. While I recognize the controversy surrounding remedial education and its effectiveness, or lack thereof, we should at least be consistent in requiring all students in our ENG 101 courses to have tested highly enough to be successful. There are clear benefits to enforcing a policy like this. Firstly, we'll be able to target students who need additional support beyond the remedial classes we offer. These students find themselves in a college-level class they aren't equipped to pass, but they can't drop the class and take the remedial course again because they've already earned a passing grade in it. Essentially, they're stuck. This policy would prevent that from happening. And finally, having students retest after remediation will help us monitor and evaluate our current remediation program. We're currently monitoring only pass rates, but I contend that this is the wrong data to monitor, or at least it's incomplete data, and that monitoring and evaluating test scores as output would give us far better measure of the actual effectiveness of our current remedial programs. Targeting remedial students for more effective instruction and/or improving the quality of the remediation that we offer would have enormous benefits for our students, our organization, and ultimately our nation. The impact of remedial education is staggering. Nationally, 40% of all students require remediation, and that number jumps to 70% when considering only community college students. Of those who take remedial classes, only 25% ever graduate with a degree or certificate, and this is costing the United States $2.3 billion annually. There are critics of remedial education who believe that placement tests should be eliminated entirely. Unfortunately, I've seen the results when unprepared students find themselves adrift in a college-level course for which they simply do not have the skills, and I believe that assessing the effectiveness of our current program is the first step in developing stronger, more effective programs in the future. The process of adoption and implementation of this policy at Delaware Tech would require the support and hard work of many actors at varying administrative levels. For more information about the values underlying this policy, Delaware Tech's policy adoption process, the visible and invisible actors involved, the policy instrument appropriate for such a change, and a discussion of the implementation challenges, please feel free to follow the link on your screen to explore these issues further. And finally, for anyone who's interested in learning more about innovative remedial programs, there are several promising models being explored. The California Acceleration Program, the ALP model, and iBest, a workforce training program, are 3 great examples. Thank you very much for your time and attention. Have a great afternoon.